This is Conic. Conic was designed by the great Reiner Knizia and published by Korokorodou in 2024. It's actually a re-implementation of a design from 1992 called Katena, and as far as I can tell, the rules are identical except for a minor addendum to the scoring. The first thing that you'll notice about Conic is just how great it looks. The publisher did an absolutely fantastic job with the presentation here. The board is made of multiple pieces of wood glued together to create a nice 3D effect, and I find it very eye-catching. The colors are nice and bright, and the titular cone is pretty satisfying to move around. Conic is a super simple game, but one that is exemplary of a school of minimalist design that I'm very fond of. If you watched my last review of Clans, you'll notice that the games share some things in common. Not really in terms of mechanisms, but in terms of soul. Both Conic and Clans have an emphasis on minimalism and mind games, but the way those mind games present themselves is very different. Let me give you a quick explanation of the rules before we continue. Every round of Conic sees each player place a tile face down on the table, like so. Then they simultaneously flip those tiles face up and resolve the auction. In this case, purple wins with the 7, and green and red discard their tiles. Purple places the 7 where the cone was, and then decides where to place the cone next. And play continues from there. In this case, green wins with the 9. Does the same thing, places it where the cone was, and moves it, deciding to fight for the center row. So in this round, red decides to pass. He does not want to get involved in this fight. The pass token is the only one that gets returned to your rack, so red does so. Green, on the other hand, played their scout token. The scout token essentially allows them to see what other players play before choosing another tile off their rack. It's a one-time use. Seeing that purple has played a 10, green decides to play their 1. In Conic, 1s beat 10s. Classic Knizia. The 1 goes where the cone was, and play continues. Green's been doing quite well here, so decides to cede the tempo to conserve tokens for the later game. Purple plays a 1, and red wins with a 3. Pretty good win. Now I will fast forward to the end of a game and show you how scoring works. Here's the end of a game of Conic. Firstly, each row is worth as many points as there are spaces in that row. This middle row is worth 4 points. These 2 rows are worth 3. These 2 are worth 2, etc. Each player earns points for the rows depending on majorities. Here, green has 2 to purple's 1, so green gets 4 points. Here, it's not so simple. There's a tie. When there's a tie, you go by chip value, so the 8 beats the 3. Purple gets 2 points. On top of points from rows, players will earn points for their largest connected group of tiles. Here, green will get 4 points, purple 3 for this group, and red will get 2 for either this or this connection. And that's it. By the way, these black chips are placed when everyone passes at the same time. Now that you know how to play Conic, you might be thinking the same thing I did after reading the rulebook. Like, that's all? I'll be honest, the first time I played Conic wasn't so much to play the game as it was to see if there was even a game worth playing. the reality is that what makes Conic special isn't easy to put into words. It's one of those games that really has to be experienced to truly appreciate what makes it tick. What may seem on the surface like a frivolous exercise in flipping over tiles is actually a brutally punishing resource management game, full of tension, doublethink, and a healthy dose of sunk cost psychology. If you've ever played Metropolis, you'll know exactly what I mean, and I actually think Metropolis is an apt comparison. In both games, you're managing a limited amount of fixed bids, and overspending might feel good in the moment, but it could also be a nail in the coffin. Both games are about knowing exactly when to commit and when to back off, carefully awaiting your next moment to strike. The mind space that these games asks you to occupy is a strange one. Sometimes it can be hard to figure out where you went wrong, and just as hard to identify where you went right. But with repeat plays, those pivotal moments become something you see in every turn. Every tile flip in Conic is impactful and can be full of surprises, like when everyone passes, leaving only one spot left in a row to fight over. The fact that the auction winner chooses where the next auction takes place is also really important. It's sort of a pressure release valve that can temporarily act as a distraction. Maybe the auction winner wants to hammer down their 10 to secure the last spot in a row, or maybe they want to toss the cone far away, letting their opponents fight it out so that they can come back later with a better footing. And this is sort of where player count comes in. I've played Conic at 2, 3, and 4 players, and I think I can safely say that 3 is my favorite. At 2 players, it's a tense, zero-sum battle, and it's actually very good. But when it comes to 2-player games that live in the same space, I'd suggest Agent Avenue or Alex Randolph's Der Isses. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'll link it below. At 3 players, Conic really comes to life, and the example I just gave is a perfect reason why. At 3 players, the auction winner can pit their opponents against each other while shoring up for the spots that they really care about. The added dimension of considering other players' incentives and being able to safely take the back foot to allow your opponents to duke it out adds a welcome layer of texture to the game. All in all, Conic is an excellent game by the good doctor, and one that I can easily recommend to players looking for something a bit more psychological than your standard filler. It's quick, interactive, and full of excitement and tension. What's not to love?